Telecameras 3 and 4 working. Activate radio contact with the outside.
Love, wisdom, abundant life. Live a life filled with meaning, purpose, and a sense of accomplishment.
Can you hear me?
Welcome to the Teachings of Enoch. I'm your host, James Allen. Listen every week at this time on KKVV AM 1060 Las Vegas. You can listen online at kkvv.com, on your smartphone using the TuneIn radio app, or listen anytime at teachingsofenoch.com. You can contact me by sending a text message to 702-483-7769. That's 702-483-7769. Or online at teachingsofenoch.com. Let's get started with today's message. Have you ever said something and as soon as it came out of your mouth, you wished you could grab the words and stuff them back down in your mouth? The other day I heard something very humorous. I've heard comedians talk about things like this, but it's even funnier when you actually see and then hear it for yourself. I was eating lunch when a couple of guys came into the restaurant. The hostess said hello and brought them over to their table. Being polite and professional, she said, "Well, enjoy your meal, guys." One of the guys said, "You too." And as soon as he said it, he knew how ridiculous it was. So he tried to cover himself and he said, have a good day. Well, enjoy your meal when you get a lunch break. If you get a lunch break. And his voice just sort of trailed off in embarrassment. The other guys in his group all busted out laughing and started to make fun of his comments as he sheepishly sat down at the table. At a recent event that I was the MC for, I told the audience, well, all good things must come to an end. And since this isn't such a good thing, I guess I'll keep going. Everyone kind of gave me a funny look, and I wished I could have taken those words back. Probably under another set of circumstances or another crowd, it would have been funny, but not at this event. Unfortunately, there are many times when we say the wrong things, and they are not funny, but hurtful. And those kind of comments and words usually are very hard to recover from. They usually are followed by some sort of apology. One of the keys for a successful and meaningful, purposeful life is knowing what to say and when to say it. To say things at the right time and at the right place. I love the proverb, like apples of gold in settings of silver, is a word spoken in right circumstances. A number of years ago, I was given a beautiful watch for my birthday. The watch had a pure silver U.S. Liberty $50 as the face of the watch. Liberty $50 have an engraved image of a walking Lady Liberty in the middle, and the folds of the U.S. stars and stripes are flying, folded in the background. Lady Liberty is shown strolling towards the rising sun, which is in the lower left corner of the coin. By itself, the U.S. $50 is a work of art, especially when used as the face of a watch. But this particular U.S. $50 has gold plating covering walking Lady Liberty. The band of the watch is composed of pure silver and gold plating, and the contrast between this gold and silver really makes a stunning impression. This is how our speech should be. Words spoken at the right time, conveying the appropriate message at the appropriate time. But of course, that is not always the reality. So how do we make it a habit of saying the right words at the right time? First of all, understand that words matter. We've all heard the saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. But that is a lie. Words can hurt, get you in trouble, destroy relationships, ruin business transactions, and even land you in jail. When I was a kid, there was an ice cream store in town that had a saying on the wall that read, "Put your mind in gear before putting your mouth in motion." Think before you speak. An Old Testament proverb tells us, pleasant words are like a honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the bones. Make it a habit to say encouraging and complimentary words. That doesn't mean that we don't offer correction, disagree, and talk like there's no problems in the world whatsoever. But be an encourager. It's so easy to get into a habit of being a negatron and a bitter-sounding person. The way to become an encourager is to take the Apostle Paul's advice. He writes to the members of the Philippian church, "Finally, brethren, whatever things are pure, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there is any virtue, if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these."
Amen?
Mm-hmm. Amen.
So you see the irony in this, we see the folly, the foolishness of what's going on. So again, there are those who benefit from the corruption of others. There are those who benefit from the sins of others. Amen. So we're not looking to benefit. We're looking to see souls delivered and baptized in the gift of the Holy Ghost. Amen?
Mm-hmm. Amen.
We're looking to see souls delivered. 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 Amen?
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Amen?
Mm-hmm. Amen.
God will deliver us out of the hands of every enemy. We just got to give God something to work with. We got to give God a devotion. We got to give God a loyalty. If we can't, I'm telling you, my brother, my sister, President Jesus promised persecution. All that live God, if you truly live in God in Christ Jesus, everybody's not going to like you. Everybody's not going to enjoy it. Listen, my brother, my sister, everybody did not love the Lord Jesus Christ, and he did wrong to no man. He did wrong to no man. No man. No man. Amen?
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Amen?
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Listen, we're not here to kill. We're not here to pick up guns or weapons and try to hurt anybody. That is not the answer. The true answer to the world's problem is genuine love, mutual love. If we can do that, you see that running this, we see the folly that foolishness was going on. We're looking to see souls delivered. He did wrong to no man. Amen?
Amen.
You see, our thoughts produce the kinds of words we speak. A dishonest person is one who's a liar. They tell lies. A person who focuses on the negative speaks words of bitterness. Have you ever noticed that? A person of vision and purpose speaks words of building other people up instead of tearing things and other people down. So take control of your thoughts. Discipline yourself to think and focus on things that are uplifting and praiseworthy. The word meditate that Paul uses in that passage means to consider something to be accomplished and to consider a plan or a purpose. Now, it doesn't mean to clear your mind of any and all thoughts and put your mind into a blank state and let the energy flow. It means to consider a plan or a purpose, or to consider something to be accomplished. The psalmist tells us, but his, meaning you and I, delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law he meditates day and night. He shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that brings forth its fruit in its season, whose leaf also shall never wither, and whatever he does shall prosper. In the desert area that I live, there are rivers and streams that flow from the nearby mountains and make their way down into the Colorado River. All along these streams and rivers, you can find trees and vegetation. In the winter, they're dormant, and these trees and vegetations look dead. But once spring arrives, they bloom and sprout their leaves and come alive. Birds and other animals make them their home. The plants provide shelter and shade. Thinking and meditating on God's precepts and your purpose is an important aspect of saying the right words at the right time. During the course of the day, we communicate in so many different ways. We use words, of course, in our speech, even our body language, writing, social media, text messages, phone conversations. A way to produce spiritual and personal growth is to use the proper meaning of words. Over the years, I've used email and social media, and I'm amazed at how many people have problems writing effectively. Misspellings and wrong use of words are commonplace. Another aspect of successful living means that we communicate our thoughts and ideas through the proper use of words. Right after my wife and I were married, we were buying some items for our honeymoon. Earlier in the day, my wife was talking about packing and moving and the need for us to get some boxes and trunks to pack our stuff into. I was more focused on our honeymoon trip to the Bahamas and what we were going to wear once we got there. Yeah, we'd need cooler clothes, she'd need a new swimsuit, and I'd need a new pair of swimming trunks. Well, that afternoon, we went to the store and I told my wife I was going to look at some trunks. I headed over to the men's clothing section, and my wife and her sister headed off over into another part of the store. I found a nice pair of swim trunks, and I met up with my wife at the cash register. She wanted to know if I found any trunks, and I held up my swimsuit. She looked at me puzzled and laughed. No, not that kind. The kind of trunks you pack stuff in where we need them to move and pack all our stuff in. We looked at each other and we both laughed. Words are a beautiful thing. One of the ways I increase my vocabulary and understand the right use of words is by using a feature on a website called dictionary.com. You've probably used it yourself. But there's a feature on there that allows you to get a word a day emailed to you, or you can just visit that site every day and they have a different word and what that word means. If I'm reading and I come across a word I don't know, well, I look that word up. And these are just a couple simple things that I personally do to increase my vocabulary so I can communicate more effectively. And hopefully you can find similar ways to build up your understanding of words as well. When you communicate via email, social media, even text messaging, make it a habit to use the proper words and correct spelling. If you don't, you'll come across in a way that won't put you in the best perspective to the person on the other end. And it can drastically change the way you are perceived by the reader. I was reading about the billionaire and founder of electronic data systems, Ross Perot. He said that when he first created his computer services company, EDS, he was very careful to proofread all his communication to make sure it conveyed a professional image and convey that he was a large company, even though at the time he was nothing more than a one-person consultant. Ross Perot said that he made sure even his invoices had the look and communication of a large company. The Apostle James wrote, "Above all, my friends, do not use an oath when you make a promise. Do not swear by heaven or by earth or by anything else. Say only yes when you mean yes and no when you mean no." During the time that he lived in, the religious leaders of the day had developed different levels, if you can believe this, of honesty. If you made a promise or took an oath based on the gold inside the temple, it was more trustworthy than if you made a promise or an oath, say, based on your family name. And we do similar things today. Things like, do you swear on your mother's grave? Do you swear on a stack of Bibles? Do you cross your heart and hope to die if you tell a lie? And these things all spill over into the business world, don't they? It seems that no matter what the contract is, as long as you have enough money for the best attorney, there is some legal way to wiggle your way out of an obligation. But James tells us that when we say something, we are to be a people of our word. No need to swear an oath. Make a promise. Cross our heart. When you say yes or no, mean it. People count on you because they're taking your word at face value. Recently, my daughter was looking for a car to buy on Craigslist, and she was amazed at how many people promised this and promised that about getting back to her, promising things about the condition of the car, etc., when in reality, they were nothing but liars. I told her, in today's world, when someone says the word promise, think liar. But you and I are called to a higher purpose. When we say something, mean it. When we commit to an obligation, follow through on your word. No need to swear. No need to promise. No need to give a lengthy reason why you will do it. Like the Nike slogan, just do it. Period. End of discussion. Now, don't misunderstand me. Contracts in business are extremely important because they lay out what is expected of everyone involved. They help avoid any misunderstandings about what you and the other party will do. Benjamin Franklin loved to write, and he came up with a lot of witty sayings. And one of my favorites is, "In much speech is much misunderstanding." And he probably got that from the Old Testament book of Proverbs, where we read, "In the multitudes of words, sin is not lacking, but he who restrains his lips is wise." And that's in Proverbs chapter 10, verse 18. My early days in business, there were times when I'd make a presentation to a client, and inside I'd feel so insecure. The client would like what I presented and wanted me to provide the needed services. But unofficially, I could tell by the person's body language that the deal was done. But because I was sometimes so nervous, I would keep talking. And I would actually talk and undo the business transaction. I had to learn to shut up. Train yourself to know when to stop talking. There's a time to ask questions, provide responses, give information. And then there's also a time to stop and be quiet.
What's going on? What are they stopping for?
Love, wisdom, abundant life. That's my hope for you. You've been listening to the Teachings of Enoch. I'm James Allen, your host. You can contact me by sending a text message to 702-483-7769. That's 702-483-7769. Or online at teachingsofenoch.com. You can listen to this program every week at the same time on KKVV AM 1060 Las Vegas. You can listen online at kkvv.com on your smartphone using the TuneIn radio app, or listen anytime at teachingsofenoch.com.